halfway through. We've got 2 left to go after including this one today. Delighted to see some people coming along, familiar faces, familiar names. My name is Martin Coots. I am an education officer with the Digital Learning and Teaching team. My role is to provide yourselves with the tools, information, insights, knowledge, confidence to get started with using these tools. We've had some great feedback over the first couple of sessions. We've really began to see the ways in which these tools can be used in your teaching and learning, in your current teaching and learning practice. We have various ways in which we can take this forward. These conversations are obviously going to be ongoing as we go throughout. And I'm delighted that so many of you have decided to come along again tonight. I purposely left it a wee bit later because there was a few people who were obviously waiting to come in, but it's good to see the numbers are getting up. In the background, I have my colleague Susan Say from the Glow team. She is going to be here to sort of help any maybe technical questions or issues or concerns that you might have. Hi, Susan. Thanks very much for coming along. Thumbs up. That's fine. Thank you. Perfect. We also have colleagues from Education Scotland, Scottish Government joining us, as well as schools and local authorities. Right, session number 3. I hopefully shouldn't have to tell you by now, but if this is your first time at one of these sessions, I like to use React. It's a very quick way for me to gauge exactly how people are doing, if they're following along, if there's anything that we need to do. So if everyone is happy, I usually get the thumbs up reaction. And if everybody would like an extra 5 minutes or so, or an extra couple of minutes, I usually use the shocked face. And I can see a few people are doing that. So your react buttons are across the top. I've got a few resources and takeaways that you can take away with you. I will share those at the end. Those will be your kind of cheat sheets, as well as a couple of example prompts. One of the pieces of feedback that I got from one of the last sessions was sort of actually seeing some of the prompts and having some of the takeaways. So I've got a sheet that you can download today that will be an actual prompt guide, as well as links that Susan will be sharing from Glow Connect that have a number of example prompts and things of that nature. So today's session is all about, we covered Notebook LM last time, but this time we're going back into Gemini itself, but we're going to use one of the aspects of the tools menu. And it's something that really helps us go from being a prompter, going from, Gemini, do this for me, to getting an output, to being an editor. We're going from being, just having that kind of chatbot experience that we use with Gemini, ChatGPT, all of these other tools. And really, Canvas becomes your ability to visualize exactly what your output is going to be, from infographics to slide decks to quiz sheets to anything that you need. You maybe heard of the term vibe coding, where some people have been putting resources and things together. And that's really something that Canvas allows us to do. And hopefully what it's going to do at this stage, because obviously the only people who have access to Gemini are teachers, but at this stage it's going to help us kind of author and work with Gemini to kind of create some high impact content that you can share with your educators. So far, as I say, we have kind of went from that grounded use case. We went from Gemini, I need this, Notebook LM, give me this, I would like that, and kind of relying on the single output that we get. And we maybe go, give me a tweak here and it'll change, but it redoes everything. Whereas with Canvas, for example, say I get Canvas to create a slide deck for me, for example, I can say on slide 3, I want you to change the word learner to pupil. And it can just change that slide. It doesn't have to change the entire slide deck. It only changes that one single slide. So it really kind of gives us that wee bit of saving of time and things of that nature, where we're able to really make a bit of high impact. I will have a few polished prompts today, right? You will never have a polished prompt in the first go. Right? Even people who have been using these tools and have been working with these tools for quite a while, they never get a prompt bang out the gate on the first go. There's always a tweak, there's always an edit, there's always a change, there's always a pivot that they have to use. And that's really the beauty of this is you will become more efficient at it as you go on. You will be able to see exactly the words and the language to use to craft a highly effective prompt, but you won't always get it right first go. And that's really part of this. It's, if you ever get to a stage that you're working on Gemini with your learners, if learners ever get access to this, you could, for example, teach that as a skill for them to get the most out of using these tools. So right now we are going to move, we're kind of going to take it up just a small notch. If we've been sitting about a 6, we're going to go up to a 7. We're not quite all the way up. We're getting there in our journey, and we've had quite a lot that we've looked at over the past few weeks. So this is that paradigm shift, as I say. You're going from the chat box, which is, kind of what you do on a normal day-to-day basis when you're talking to someone. You ask them a question, they give you a response, you then ask for a clarification, the canvas aspect of using Gemini is more like real-time collaboration. That's you editing and working together. The hierarchy, you're looking at the refinement, you're looking at the small tweaks, you're looking at the bite-sized changes that you can make that really help you craft. You can even upload an original document and you can say, make some edits to this or create a slide deck based around this document. I've done that quite a lot. The infographics that I share during these sessions, they're all usually done based on a PDF document that I'll upload, and I'll say create a more visually engaging in my role as a member, we used that where we spoke about the role, the context, the time constraint, and we gave that RCTF framework that we were looking at, or the RCTC framework, I think we called it. And that way where you really define the role and you define what Gemini wants to do, what constraints there might be, and how all of that might come together. So this is just the housekeeping aspect of what Gemini Canvas is like. I'll take you into it in a wee second. It works best as a side by side. You work in the same way that you would do within Gemini. All you do is you change canvas from the tools, and then you see the real-time output based on the context that you're talking about. You can make things a wee bit easier. You can add emojis, you could change the font, you can do things very, very quickly. But that side by side visual design, that visual cue that you're getting, that's what really makes it stand out. And I'll be perfectly honest. I know some people say they use it all the time. I do genuinely, hand on heart, use it at least once a day. And Susan can attest to this, the amount of different infographics that I sent her. I use that within Google Gemini, the Canvas tool. I I am telling you, I hate using this term, but it has been a game changer in terms of the output that I give to teachers. I would spend hours before maybe sitting on my iPad and working through Keynote or working on PowerPoint and going through a set of slides I would then share. Now it's a prompt. It's then pasted. You can even paste it anywhere you like for people to see it. And we might show you that in a more advanced session because that is a kind of next step up. But right now, there's a number of ways that you can start to share and look at things. Okay, right. Enough talk, Martin. Let's go to our workspace. So, if you are wanting to follow along with me, that is absolutely fine. In the chat, I'm going to drop a link in. This is going to be your kind of takeaway, which I know if there's any problems. It is a Bitly link. Now, Bitly have made a bit of a change to their free tier. And what they do now is they have included this continue to cite button that comes up. Don't worry if that comes up. There is a continue button. Now, what this is it is a kind of a visual cheat sheet for you that should hopefully work. Yeah, so if I go to this one, you'll see that it says this continue to destination. This is essentially, so this is how Bitly pays for their free tier. They put in adverts but you'll see there's this option down there that says continue to destination. This is your one-stop cheat sheet. This is your one-way takeaway. You'll see that I've given you 3 examples of how you could use Canvas today, including 3 example prompts. We will probably use these so I can show you in real time, but it's good for you to have a takeaway from it. Little bit of housekeeping. The thing we always say, don't we, Susan, is about the personal or sensitive information within Glow. We are going to be, I think Susan and I are going to be working on something in the background about what exactly constitutes the type of information you can use within Gemini. So we will be defining that. So if there are any questions or queries, we will have that. But right now, anything that links a pupil, anything that you would store in CMIS, do not put anywhere near any tool within Glow just now. Just keep yourself safe. The other thing that we look for from this kind of tool or resource is really how to do something. What's the best practice? What's the way of doing things? You can see I've given you a few things. So hopefully that's going to be a useful resource for you. Feel free to share that with any other educators that you think might get use out of it. Okay, so let's take a look. If I share to my Gemini screen here, so this should be familiar to you by now. This is your Gemini screen. This is where we have been using that kind of very monosyllabic way of saying something, but I could say create an image of a metal rooster to, I know it's not the year of the rooster, it's the year of the horse, but I'm a metal rooster to symbolize Chinese New Year, right? That's just that's a kind of a singular use. That's the chat response. If I wanted to edit this, I would have to go back. But there's me, for lack of a better term. There's a metal rooster that's Martin for Chinese New Year. However, Canvas takes it up a notch, and you can find Canvas underneath the tools menu here. So good rule of thumb, one thing I always do is I choose the tool before I put in the prompt. Okay, even if that's create image, I'll tap create image. You see Google kind of gives you these quick start options down the bottom, boost my day. Just be careful of that. Do not rely on a virtual assistant to make you feel good about yourself. Remember, human interaction is still key. This is, this is Clippy. This isn't Terminator. But there are others out there that can help you boost your day. There are others out there that can help you learn. But we are going to use Canvas. So I have a few prompts here. And as I say, it's just going to make it easier. I'm going to copy and paste just because it's going to be faster. So my prompt is I am designing a 6-slide lesson for let's just go with that, for a 2nd level class on renewable energy in Scotland. Okay, so that's aspect number 1. Now you can use your shift and enter and put it onto new lines. That sometimes helps some people. Act as a slide architect and create a structural outline in Canvas. So we've selected Canvas. For each slide, include a clear heading, 3 to 4 concise bullet points, and a speaker note section at the bottom. Ensure the content aligns with the CFE experiences and outcomes. Okay, so that's okay for a starter prompt. I'm going to just leave it on fast. You can make it go to thinking if you want to go a wee bit deeper, but I'm going to choose fast for the purpose of our demonstration and tap submit. So you can see the difference here with what I had before was it has shifted from just giving me an output to giving me this kind of design pane on the right-hand side, sorry. My chat is still sitting here. So I can still go through and see, right, there's a few different things that are here. It could say expand upon a slide or perhaps suggest a hands-on activity. Let's take a look and say, let's go through. All right, so it's science. Let's look at slide number 2. We've got some key points there. Let's see. Let's do that. Let's highlight here and say, make this section more interactive for pupils. What could we say? Let's make it into a turn and talk to your partner activity. Right, so what it's going to do, I have brilliant, thanks Susan for that question. What we've done here is I've taken these, okay, and I could say, right, that slide is fine, right, power of the wind, but let's change that slide specifically. Okay, so this section is going to be more interactive. And you can see up here, it's got its spinning circle, it's thinking, it's going through and thinking, and there we go. You can see it hasn't changed anything else within my outline. It has simply given me the key points. Turn and talk, look at a map out the window, right? Fun fact, just one spinner of a giant offshore turbine can power your house for a whole day, right? So you can see that I can start to make the changes there. I could also say that there are some things using rain and mountain rivers. Let's go through. Right, so see if we can get. Okay, let's take that. Say rewrite this for a reading age of 9. So just going through, I'm just doing this at random, okay? You can obviously go through, I'm doing this at random for time aspects, but you can see that it's went through and it's updated the select. I have been, I don't know about you guys, but I have been having some real issue with my speaking over the past couple of days. Just, I don't know if I need to change my teeth or what, but I have changed my selected text to be more for a reading age of 9. So you can see what we're doing here is we're going through and we're giving this slight change to the prompt, and we're still designing the layout of our slides, right? We haven't actually worked on the design yet. All we've done is worked out the content, right? And the layout, and we could say something like this. Let's take that set of text, and I could say, now here's a quick tip. If I take that text and I could say repeat for this section, I don't actually have to say rewrite this for, all I need to say is repeat and it will do what I did previously. I could even say turn this into an interactive activity for pupils. And it will take that big challenge and it will say, right, create a web-based interactive application. No, that's us going back a wee bit. Going a wee bit too far forward there. Let's just revert to previous version. That's another quick tip, right? It will revert anything that you've done. If you just say revert to a previous version, it will go to the version that you had before. So if you make a mistake while you're working in Canvas, you don't have to shut the whole thing down. You can just say revert, and I can say, right, no, revert to slides. So you can see even someone like me who is still quite good at using these tools, it does get It does take a bit of time. It does take a bit of going back and forth. It's going to detail the slide. It's going to visualize the Scottish energy sources. And what it's going to do now is it's going to take my content and it's actually going to create them as a slide deck. So I've taken my content and just by using the text revert to slides, it's actually going to make them into slides. Now you could say create a slide deck, give it a design. I could go back in a wee second and I can say design the slides with an appropriate theme, design the slides that matches children at age 9, make it visually appealing. We'll see what it comes out with in a wee second, right? So I've got a few slides here. It says it's suitable for a P5 to P7, professional yet engaging style. So we'll see what it comes up with. Now remember, this is what we would probably have done in PowerPoint, gone into PowerPoint, picked a theme, then have to sit and create. But with a bit of conversation going back and forth, we're able to refine the look of things. And it doesn't take too long to do at all. It depending on the content, Susan.
Can I ask a question, Martin? So
Of course you
sometimes
can.
I get missing pictures. It just looks like it's a placeholder. Have you ever seen that as well?
Yeah, that's to do with so sometimes what I like to do as well is I say to it, don't use images, use icons because it's
Ah, right,
easier for it
okay.
to find the pictures are a bit hit and miss
Hit
because
or miss, I agree.
it's using free to use images
Okay.
which are referenced in their Google search index. And sometimes, like probably in this one, it'll have a few see, it's got an image there that it's found. It's given you the
Yeah.
image source, and
So
you can see
icons is
it's
the way to go.
yeah. Icons is definitely the way
Okay.
to do this because sometimes if the image has been removed,
Mm-hmm.
it's still part of the Google search. But
Mm-hmm.
when they go to actually find the image, you get that
Yeah.
missing. So I sometimes say just revert to using icons or just
Okay.
revert to
That's a
using
good tip.
free to use images. So just that to bear in mind. I quite like that. I'm not 100% happy with it, so I might go back and I might say redesign the slides to be uh, brighter, more engaging for learners with an almost cartoon-like feel. I know sometimes we like to make it look professional, and that does definitely look professional. However, just to show you that we can do this, right? That can be quite in depth for folk. I actually just want the slides to be a little bit more cartoonish, um, and then fit with the theme. So it's quite good in that regard as well, because then once you have that, you can export it to Google Slides and then you can download that as a PowerPoint. It all depends on what you're using. I prefer using Google Slides just because it automatically saves to it. And absolutely. The other thing I was going to say just on that point there, Susan, you just reminded me, thank you, is that Gemini will learn your particular styles. Gemini will learn from you as you go through. It won't necessarily remember, but it will learn from you as you go through. So it knows I like to use more icon heavy presentations. It knows I like to use more visual styles. It knows that and if I say that I'm working with a group of learners that at this particular age and that I am a coach or I am a teacher or I am an education officer, it will kind of steer that. So by saying I am a XYZ teacher in Scotland, always define that role. And that role definition works there. So why don't you take a wee minute? Why don't you if you've been having a go and if you've been going along with me, why don't you come up with a topic? But there we go. Let's see what this looks like. So that's looking, yeah, that's much better. I prefer that. Even the font, it's super clean. even the images are a little bit more sort of childlike friendly in that regard. It's given us a map of Scotland. If I'm happy with it, I can either download it, I can change my background visual, I could present from here. If I wanted to, I could just zoom in and just present from here. Or I could export to slides. And when it exports to slides, I get this little prompt down the bottom here. It says that it is creating slides, and then you get a little notification that says your slides are ready. And that will give me some text boxes that I can edit. So I could add icons. So I'm going to open slides. Let's shift to that tab. Takes a wee second to load. There we go. So I could start to add in a few more icons. I could add in the school logo. I could add in an image from a class. I could even change the text color. You can see a few things haven't come over. So I might have to change this text color to a darker blue, or take some of the things from the theme. There we go. So you can see by defining my role, and it doesn't always copy over the images. So that's what we were saying at the beginning there. Some images don't copy over, and it's because they only have the ability to reference them. They don't have the ability to copy them, because they might be able to let you see the image but not copy the image, and that's just because it's possibly been deleted. So that's where you could just go back and you could insert an image, which you can just search from here, or you could change it to an icon. So that is a slight glitch. That's hopefully something that we can say to Google that this is something that happens, and they can maybe refine that. But that's one way of using Canvas to kind of create a slide deck. Again, let's just go back and recap on what I did. So I gave it the prompt, same way that I would. It then gives me, and look, this is what I also love about Canvas. I can, at any point, go back what I had before. So there's my first output. Oops. That's one thing about sharing on a Chromebook. You need to remember to shift it to share the tabs. So let me just go back so you can see exactly what I was talking about. If I go back, there's my slides, but if I go back all the way to the start, there's my initial prompt. I am designing a 6-slide lesson, blah, blah, blah. Renewable energy in Scotland. If I just tap open, it goes back. It retains, my canvas retains the memory of every aspect of the conversation that I have had. Now, the floating tools that we have down here, we can change the tone. We can suggest edits. We can change the length. I can make something longer or shorter. Okay, so these little floating edit bars are really quite good to make quick changes as well. And this works with a lot of the different ones that we're going to do. I'm going to do another example in a second here. You can see at this stage, I've got everything I need. So if you still wanted, if you're kind of a perfectionist and you want to go and create your slide deck, you have the outline here. You have your speaker notes. You don't have to have it create the slides for you. You might want to go up to this Create tab here and create a quiz based on this, or create an audio overview. So if I tap audio overview, I've asked it just to generate an audio overview, very similar to what you get in Notebook LM. And it will just take an audio overview of all of these slides and create it as an audio file that you have there. So you can get a number of, again, it's the context that you're working in. It's the content that you are creating. You're never just doing one thing on its own. You're doing lots of different things coming together. You're finding all of these different aspects going together so that you have a few different approaches. Now that audio overview is going to generate in the background, which I'll leave and we will come back to. But a lot of these are sort of really easy to make, really easy to use. Excuse me a second. Sorry, I just had to take a cough there and shout to my son, yes, please, because he's just asked if I want the coffee. So I didn't want to shout in all of your ears or make you feel bad that you also don't have an individual who will just come into the room and make you a coffee for you. There are some benefits to working from home, folks. But again, it's this aspect of all of these options coming together. It's how they all work together in unison. It's never a one size fits all, which we know is true for all tech. It's true for all tools that we are using. But that one size fits all option we find doesn't fit anybody. So it's knowing the context and the content that you're wanting to create. And it's also not being afraid to adjust and refine and go back as we're going through. Let's take a look at another example. Let's see if that audio, okay. So I'm going to start a new chat and I'm going to choose my tool, going to go to my canvas again. This time I am going to take a newsletter that I have for my teachers, for my parents. Maybe kids are going to go on a trip. I think, Susan, you've got a great example of this about, is it like first aid or vaccines that you were showing? Or
Worse than that, it's
what
head
was it?
lice.
Oh, lice, that was it. I knew you had one. If you have a second, and if you have time at the end, show that one off, because that was a great one when you showed it. Okay. So I've got some raw notes on our school newsletter. Act as a content architect, right? So this is someone that's going to help you and turn these into a professional, visually structured parent update. Use bold headers, bullet points for key dates. My notes are, so let's see, I'm not going to go with headlights. I am actually going to go with Winter Olympics. Sports Day is on Friday. Parent Council, I'm not going to call it PTA. Parent Council meeting is Tuesday. New lunch menu starting on Monday, and reminder about school uniforms. They're optional. No football colours. Okay, that's the only rule. So I've given it the notes. I've given a few different things. Let's create something visually stunning that I can then share with teachers to share with parents, or I can put it into one of the things that we do sometimes is we could put it onto Google Sites. So let's submit this and see what we get. So again, right, I've transformed your raw notes into a polished, structured newsletter update for parents. I've used a professional content architect approach. So I think you can all see that there. And that what it has created is text that I could then just copy and paste and put that into a doc. Right, so I've just taken my notes and I've just changed. So here I could go through and I could highlight and just copy and paste, or I could say, let's use the polish tool. So that's this one. Change the tone. I want it to be a little bit more casual. Because we're a friendly school. So that's my polish tool that I used here. Not Polish, my polish tool. So that's a quick way that I can change the tone without having to, that's this one here, change the tone. I could change the length and I could say, you know what, needs to be a little bit longer. So you can see these are just sliders. Okay, these are just sliders. So let's make it a little bit longer, right? Because some of these updates are there. I could say, right, I've added about 30% more content by fleshing out the descriptions. So what I could also say here is do not, we are Scottish. Do not refer to young people as kids. Make reference. Thanks, Susan. That's why I shaved my head again. There was an outbreak. My beard's fine. No, I'm just kidding. It's just age. So do not refer to young people as kids. Make reference to them as pupils. I don't know if that's just the fact that I've done a lot of work with American teams and companies. The kids and students I hate, right? I'm Scottish. We call them pupils. Pupils are young people. That's what we refer to them as. So what I went through there, and I've just said, update the newsletter to better reflect our Scottish context, replacing kids with pupils throughout and ensuring the tone remains warm and community focused. All right. Quite happy with that so far. And I might say, let's go. Where are we? Quick word on uniforms. Let's highlight. And in there, I'm going to say, no, actually, let's go with Winter Olympics. I'm going to say, add 3 relevant emojis to make this section pop.
It's just much easier to customize the output in Canvas than it is just using normal Gemini, isn't it?
100%. You know, the thing for me, Susan, is the fact that I can see the changes happening. And when I'm seeing the changes, it lets me know that I'm on the right path with a lot of these changes and updates that I'm making. And it also means that if I do make a mistake, I could just say, no, don't like them, revert back.
Yeah,
And I
easy.
can just say, just take them back, and it will say, right, I've removed it. And I can be really facetious in here and say, on second thought, and I can be quite quite casual in the conversation that I have, because I am collaborating with Gemini, and it's not going to be like, oh, make your mind up. It might throw in a couple of little friendly parts, but it does become, I know we call these AI tools, right? And I know everybody makes a big song and dance about calling it AI. It's not. It doesn't think for itself. It learns, but it learns through repeated use. This is a chatbot. I know we make a joke about it being Clippy turned up to the next level, but it is Microsoft Clippy. It is kind of taking things up where it says, it looks like you're trying to write a newsletter. How can I help you? The only difference here is it is using the advantage, and we have said this before, it is using the advantage of all of that learning that Google has gained for Gemini, but it doesn't use any of our data to train it. We get all of the advantages of all of the water coming into the pool, but we are not splashing any more water out. Our water's staying contained. So now, if I wanted to, I could just create, I could create a couple of bits that go with it, or I could say, let's say PDF maker. So now I could just say generate a single file, does it in a bit of code, right? But I could just make it into a PDF, or I could just go back to my previous part. Right, I can just click save as PDF. This is as if I was hosting it on a page. Now, I know this might be taking you up a wee level, but let's see how we could do with this. Give me a thumbs up emoji if you've heard of or use Google Sites. Okay, a couple of people. Give me a shocked face if you haven't. Okay, so as part of our Google tenancy, and we've got loads of time, this is quite easy to do. As part of our Google tenancy, we have access to sites, right? So sites are just like, it's like WordPress, but it's just specifically for Google. So within our Google aspect, our Google workspace, we have, let me see if I go to my Drive, share this tab instead. You know how we've got that hamburger stack? Sorry, not the hamburger stack. We've got our grid at the top here, our 3x3. you might have noticed that there's lots of different options under our tools. This is where you can find Gemini, Notebook, Vids, but we also have what we call sites. All right. So as we build this in, right, you could see I've got a few examples of ones that I've made earlier, like a good Blue Peter presenter. But if I just take a blank site, this is a space that I can host this. All right. And you see this option over here. Yeah. You can do all of these and you can bring them up and I can embed, right? And I've got embed code. Now this is maybe just a little bit advanced, so don't worry if you're struggling with this. And remember, it's being recorded. But this is just an option that you can use with this. All right. So if I go to my Gemini and I take my code, just all of this fancy coding stuff here, right? If I just do select all, right? It's just clicking and highlighting and then do Control C. I go back to my site and then my embed code, but do Control V and then tap next. It's going to embed my newsletter onto a site. Then I can just resize this. Now it's messy. It's not the best way of doing it, but I can then publish it and then just copy the link and send that to teachers. Send that to parents. However, that's maybe something we'll do in a more advanced, that's maybe something we will do in a more advanced session. So if that's something that you think you might benefit from, give me a thumbs up. And that's something that we can do in an extra session. If this is something that you think would be your benefit, perfect. We've got a couple of webinars ideas for where to go to next, Susan, because we've got loads of time. So yeah, we've got stuff on GEMS that will possibly be coming up, and we've got stuff on Google Sites and Gemini together. So there we go. There's a couple of always thinking. But back to our tab. Let's just go to our parent newsletter. So there we go. It's kept everything. The best way at this stage, right, if you're new to this, is just to click and drag to highlight all of your text. You've made all of the edits that you want to. So I could Control C or right click copy, whatever you want to do. Then I could go to Microsoft Word. I could go to Google Docs. If you're doing this on an iPad, you can open up Pages. You've got that option available to you as well. So if I go to a new tab, I go to my Docs, which again, you can get through this hamburger stack. It's 3x3. You can get through there. That's a quick way to get to your docs. Or I could take my blank docs page, create a document, then I can just right click and paste. No, I can do Control V because I'm on a Chromebook. On a Windows laptop and on a iPad or a MacBook, you can do Control V or right click paste. But there we go. Quick word on uniforms. Now I can add in a few different things. I could add in school logo. Let's actually just show you that. Insert image. Search the web. Let's just go with school logo. Let's take brand new school. But I could insert my school logo. And then I can just send that out. I could send that out via group call. I could send that out via whatever tools I need to. But just from a few notes, I've been able to draft a newsletter. being able to change the length, being able to update it, do a few different things. As Susan says in the chat, it is a huge time saver. And Sandra, to your question, I'm happy to show you how to do all that kind of stuff, because that's probably a bit more advanced for some users. So Susan and I will be happy to show you that at some point. But as we're looking through this, folks, hopefully you can see that there's a couple of real quick benefits that you can come away with. Okay, happy for me to show you a couple more examples? Anything you want me to go over? Thumbs up if you're happy to move on to the next bit. Perfect. Okay, good stuff. Right, so I'm going to start a new chat again. If your Gemini, if you lose your Gemini, remember your menu button, your menu stack here has all of your previous chats. So you can see there's my school newsletter, there's my renewable energy, and let's take a
Martin,
look. Hello, Susan.
we're still on docs.
Still on docs. Do that every time. Thank you.
Perfect.
Right, so if you lose any chat, this is a good point for me to go back. If you lose any chat, you can see your three stack menu there. It will expand and you can see all of your previous chats that you have there as they come across. Okay, let's see how we can build up a detailed lesson plan. Not just a single lesson, but a detailed lesson plan. So I am just going to close my menu, change my tools, go to Canvas again. And again, I've just got a quick prompt here. Create a detailed lesson for, let's see, for applications of maths for a National 5 class. Use Canvas to architect the document with the following headers: learning intentions, success criteria, hook. Right, let's go applications of maths, calculating interest rates for a National 5 class. Use Canvas. And then differentiated, mild, spicy, and hot. Now let's go for low, medium, and hot. Okay. Don't like using the term spicy when you're working with children. We don't want things to be spicy. We just want it to be low, medium, and hot. Pretty sure that's the Nando's scale as well, isn't it? Or plain. That is what we'll do. Let's go with plain, medium, and hot. That's the Nando's menu. And let's click and see what we get. So applications of maths, National 5, calculating interest rates, appreciation, depreciation. Because I said National 5, it will know that it's pulling information from the Scottish Curriculum for Excellence. Because it is applications of maths, it knows the subject area. And because I said calculating, it knows that I'm talking about appreciation and depreciation. I have success criteria. I have some questions, okay. I have some different activities. So there's my differentiated ones, my mild, which are my plain. They're not too bad. I have my medium, still got the word spicy. I might tell it I don't want that. And I might say, let's go with the mild task. Let's highlight the mild task. And I'm going to say create a scaffolded version of this using a word bank. So again, we know that hallucinations can happen. We know that some bias might happen. We know that it will never get it right. You will never hit the target with your first prompt. You will always need to refine, you'll always need to go back, you'll always need to verify that the information is right. Don't just take the output and copy and paste, because then it's going to look like you've not done your role, you've not done your due diligence. This is to do the heavy lifting. This is not to do all of the lifting. This is to give you a nudge. This isn't to give you a push. All right. I really want you to take your time in thinking about the stuff that is happening with this. You can see that I've got my word bank. So again, I could copy and paste that. I could put that into a form, right? That could be a Google form that I could then create, or a Microsoft form that I could share and get that information out. That could work. And I might say, let's take my success criteria. What have we got? Scroll back up. There's my success criteria. I might say, turn this, let's say, turn this into a checklist that can be shared with pupils as a revision guide. So I could then copy and paste it, create it as a revision guide, and you can see that it's put it in there as a table that I can then copy and paste, and I can put somewhere. So it's building in. The more time I have, I could take more time, go through and refine this and really build it together. What could be really useful as I start to get a bit more advanced and I start to get a bit more confident with things is I could even start to create some flashcards. In fact, remember we mentioned that audio overview in the last one. Let's take a look at that and see what it looks like, because it should be, still says it's generating. Right. Shouldn't take that long. Might have found a wee bug here, Susan.
Yeah, I think you have.
Great. Your audio overview is being generated. I'll let you know when it's ready in a few minutes. You can leave this chat in the meantime.
Let's refresh it and see what we get. There we go. If in doubt, just refresh. So here's the audio overview. It's a 4-minute long.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're looking at a source that it frames Scotland not just as, a beautiful place to visit, but as a live experiment for the whole world's energy transition.
It really is. It's this specialized break.
So you can see that's the same as Notebook LM, where Notebook LM generates these. The only difference with the audio overview within Canvas is you can't refine the length. You can't give it a specific conversation piece to talk about. It will only do it based on the output that you have actually generated. You can't go in and refine it in the way that Notebook LM has. However, you can still download it. You can still put it into a shared Google Drive folder. You can still put it into a classroom folder as well for the pupils to access as they're going through. But that's been a few kind of different takeaways that we have in terms of things that we can use Canvas for. As I promised, I will drop into the chat. This is a link to that, all of those prompts that I used, including some of the hooks that I gave you. You've obviously got a link to the page as well, which I will still share a tab of. Just close my other slide deck by mistake. So we're just coming up to the end. We've got about 6 minutes left. That gives us just a wee bit of time to wrap up, as well as we have a form that we would really appreciate you taking the time to fill out. It's a wee bit more in depth this time, but there is a reason for that, folks. So, what are some of the reasons to use chat instead of Canvas? Well, again, if you're looking for something that is going to be a wee bit more in depth, you can use a standard chat for brainstorming. If you want to draft a newsletter or create a slide deck, then you can use Gemini Canvas, and you can use Notebook LM if you want to go down and extract some different areas. We looked at 3 ways that we used Gemini. We looked at Slide Architect, we looked at a visual newsletter, and we looked at drafting a lesson plan. What you should hopefully have seen is I was roughly working about 3 times faster than I would have been normally. Creating PowerPoints were definitely about 3 times faster. Newsletters were about 3 times faster. And again, you will get faster at the refinement the more you start to use this. So it's really, again, not using it for everything, but using it for a specific reason, a specific task, a specific purpose. Define the role, define the context, define what you want it to do, define the task, and define the constraint that you might have. We have that cheat sheet, and that link was shared just beforehand. And maybe a few different lesson ideas that you could take away with you starting tomorrow is, why don't we try an interactive rubric, right? A self-reflection, a self-assessment, maybe looking at you know, a complex bit of text and saying, you know what, summarize this, put it into headers, maybe create visual sheets. There's lots of different ideas of things that you can take away. The important part, the thing that really helps us refine what we are doing and how we take things away, is asking you if you would be so kind as to complete this form. I'm just going to copy the text and I'm going to put it into the chat. There we go. That's a link to it there. So, no, it can't. Not at this stage, Sandy. It doesn't use separate AI tools. It is its own AI tool. So the form has got a few different questions. It's obviously going to give us an idea of where you are, who you're currently working with, are you a teacher, a PT, ASN, your confidence before, your confidence after. But what we also want to know is, if you were using this with pupils, you were using this with learners, how do you feel about that? Would that be something you would want to do? If you have any issues or concerns around that, what are they? Do you feel that this would be beneficial for some learners in your class who maybe have ASN provisioning? Or do you feel that it doesn't really, there's quite a lot that might be complex for them? And also, if you were to sit down and you were to be told tomorrow that you're using this with your learners, do you feel that you have a suitable level of knowledge at this stage to do that? Just hypothetical, putting it out there. Who knows what's coming around the corner? These things are changing on a daily basis, it feels like. And we really don't want to be finding ourselves dragging our heels with it. So it's really an idea for us to know exactly where you guys are in terms of your thinking. Our next session is next week. We are going to finish up using AI literacy, really the ethics around using AI, and also some actual classroom tips, like what can you actually do with you know, some of these tools, putting it all together type of thing, but looking at the ethics. So the sign up for that is on the right hand side. The form I've left that there, that is on the left hand side. Click, scan whatever one you want to go to using a QR code. They're both just quick QR codes that will take you there. And with that, I'm going to leave it just for the last couple of minutes for you to finish doing that form, or to ask any questions, or if there's anything else that you think is wanting to come up. And with that, I'm going to go and stop recording, so that if you do want to come off chat, come off mute, come off mics, you are